Let me ask you this then. You said pretty much the story is what made sense to you. Everything else
did that make
sense? So we're going to jump right on to the next question then, which was, and you listed a few things a second ago, but what didn't make sense as a new Fallout player coming into this game? What were you just like, I don't know how this works?
Yeah, so just starting off with the VATS, it didn't really explain like that it uses up the AP you use for running from the very beginning. So there are oftentimes I clicked the button and it did the VATS thing, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll select these things, and then nothing happened. And so I was like, I guess I don't know how to properly use it, and I had to come to you and tell you, like, what is it that I did wrong? And you said, oh yeah, you ran up to the enemy, and that's why you couldn't do anything.
Right, you used all your points up.
Yeah, you run into this funny situation because of that where you're like, okay, there's an enemy closing in on me. Let me activate VATS and get as many attacks in as I can before they get too close. Okay, I did that. Now I've used up all my AP. Fine. Now it's time to run away. Can't run. Except I can't. Why am I not running? And then like you get like, and you're like, I'm not sure why I'm not running. So you keep trying to run, and then you get to run like a short distance. Like, okay, I got a little distance between us. VATS.
Nope. That's why it's a high endurance build for the win.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And did you your first game was Fallout 3. Did you learn that in Fallout 3 through the School of Hard Knocks, or was it something that you picked up?
I picked it up kind of, I don't remember ever having a problem figuring that out. I think I just like absorbed it through osmosis or something. I was a lot younger back then, and I was playing it with a whole bunch of, my college roommates who were also playing it. I think we just shared information and knowledge, and it kind of just came naturally. I don't ever specifically like having to look it up or wondering why I was having those issues.
Well, and Fallout 3 also kind of forced you to use VATS. I mean, you could shoot, but...
Well, the shooting mechanics in 4 are much improved over
in
3. Like, VATS was definitely... Like you said, you had to kind of use it if you wanted to be effective against killing things.
I tried really hard to kind of go like blank into it, just like figure it out on my own, so that way I can get the full experience. Like back in the day when the internet wasn't a thing and it taught you everything. Like I want to play this game like that.
Totally.
And I realized quickly that might not work out for me, just because I've never played a Fallout game before.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
There's kind of a lot to wrap your head around. I think for me it helps absorb me into that world, right? Because like things are supposed to be foreign to you, right? You've woken up after 200 years. This isn't the world that you were accustomed to. You weren't a warrior or someone who had to literally fight for their survival in a wasteland before this. So like the fact that some things like systems and story and setting and like how you do things may not come immediately to you, like that kind of makes sense to me in terms of how it immerses you in the world, right? Like it should on some level be difficult and frustrating.
I feel like modern games now actually teach a little bit too much. Like there's always a cursor to your next objective, you know what you're supposed to do. And I didn't necessarily fault Fallout for doing that. It was just like I felt like when they first put me in the power armor, I beat the Deathclaw and I'm like, great, I'll just keep this thing because it's really cool. And I walked a little bit. I'm like, why won't it stop? Why did it stop?
That said, there are some weird little finicky things that, like, even I was like, really? Like, for instance, it took me, I don't know, longer than I would like to admit to figure out how to get out of power armor.
Oh, just how to exit the vehicle?
Like,
sure.
And I was like, because I pressed every button on the controller, and then I was like, okay, well, there's no more buttons. Like, how do I get out? And then I was like, I had to look at it. I had to look it up on the internet, and it's just like, you hold it.
You start double tapping every button or holding down a button, and it's like, what's funny about this too is that a lot of the things that you guys are pointing out, the reason, so like I totally on paper, I totally buy into like your concept that there's a certain degree to which they want to keep the player in the dark because they want the player to feel like they're trying to learn things that are alien to them that the character, the player character doesn't necessarily know, and like that can be interesting, but legitimately everything that you guys have named is in the game. They show you, but they show you in this really terrible way where it's like a quick message, a little Pip-Boy notification in the upper left-hand corner for like 5 seconds, and then it goes away and it never comes back.
They do
Sometimes there's tips on loading screens, and like you're just looking at the loading screen, or you're looking at your phone,
hoping you're
going to
see the tip that you don't.
Or like you look up and then you start to read the tip, and then like you load in, you're like, I didn't catch the end of that. Like, that was actually important.
I did make sure to like not only pay attention to the little Pip-Boy since I don't know anything going in, and also read the help section. Even the help section didn't tell me about the AP thing for VATS. So it's like, okay, so clearly I just missed the little 5-second like blurb. But even then, I don't think it ever said that part either. So like there was a lot. I do feel there's a certain level to which Fallout gets to, that it just assumes you've played this before and you should just automatically be familiar with this stuff, so we don't feel the need to teach you. But that can alienate people like me that want to try, but like, wait, I don't understand what I'm doing. Like, power armor, why did it stop? I need a fusion core? I didn't know. If I leave it here, I can come back to it? I didn't know that either.
Right.
My dog meat kept disappearing, and then I had to read online, build a dog shelter for it, and then it'll come back to you. I didn't know that either. Like, there was just so many things that I felt like if you just gave me a quick, like, I don't know, that more hands-on, so that way I don't lose the experience of immersing myself instead of just being extremely frustrated.
Yeah, there's an element of this game, and I think this goes for all Fallout games, that's almost, it's a Nintendo Uncle game. Do you know what Nintendo? Do you remember Nintendo Uncles? Vince and I are around the same age.
We've talked about this a little bit.
The Nintendo Uncles, yeah. You were talking earlier about the pre-internet days. Mm-hmm. These were the schoolyard games where you'd go out and talk to your friends about the same game that you all were playing at the same time. There was always one kid at your school who had an uncle at Nintendo. And yeah, the uncle, and that uncle would always tell him about, first off, that uncle had every game and gave that kid every game, and he'd tell you all about the games he had and the secret games that were coming and the secret golden fire dagger and the Legend of Zelda and all that. But they would also make up secrets and tell you about them. Mm-hmm. And because everybody was sharing secrets anyway, you would go looking for these things. And sometimes they were complete garbage. Sometimes there were things the kid had pulled out of Nintendo Power. Sometimes there were glitches that this kid had heard about or run into or dreamt up. Who knows? Fallout 4 is kind of a Nintendo Uncle game. It's a game that's designed to talk with other people about. Good or ill, I happen to like that about it, but it could be extremely frustrating for somebody that doesn't have, we work in a giant magical playland and people are all playing games at the same time. So
I will say that the discussions when Fallout 4 first came out of everyone just being like, oh, I did this and I found this, and everyone would be like, what? I didn't know that. Like, that was part of the reason that drew me into wanting to play it, because I'm like, I want to be part of those conversations. I want to see these weird glitches that happen or this thing that you found out on your own. It was just like kind of daunting from the very beginning to like step out the ball and immediately be like, what do I do? Why is there like a tuna can that I can just pick up and carry with me along with its fork? I don't know. Can I eat?
Don't ask questions. That's right. Don't ask questions. No, but it's interesting. It's kind of tough because on the one hand, you should feel overwhelmed and lost that you're trying to
like Sean's point. Yeah.
You're trying to go into the world, but on the flip side of that, where I agree with you, is that you shouldn't feel overwhelmed trying to know what button to press to do this or basic information about how to properly read the HUD that the game provides for you. Like there's a difference between the things that are supposed to be clear and the things that are supposed to be for you to learn. How to control the game and where to find relevant information that you might need because it's important. Like, hey, my power armor will run out of energy if I don't replace this power core. Things like that are the things that you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be left on your. You should not ever suffer for having not known something that you were never told.